to God's Heritage International Ministries. I am Shantina, and today is August 12, 2021. And I just want to welcome you all. Thank you for taking a moment out of a very busy day to kind of come and participate in some good old-fashioned Bible study. What we like to call here why time. You know, why time, which is in the word enemy spelled backwards. So it means to have a strong hate against something, you know. So we're supposed to have enemy against the enemy. So we turn it around and say, well, in order to have that enemy against Satan, or to know what we're really warring against, we gotta get to God. He is the answer. So I want to thank you for coming in today. And so without further ado, I actually want to start with a testimony that I received first thing this morning. You ever know that God has set you up to bless you? You know, he'll set you up to bless you. I was told that someone that I know that actually got an email, and it said that this company was hiring. And she's retired and didn't really want to do much, but she just wanted something to do and earn a little income so that she can just have a little bit more money. And she saw this email. She wasn't going to go. She told her daughter, you know what, I'm going to go. And I've never seen a job fair that started at 2 a.m. But she, you know, it was odd. But she went ahead and she went to the job fair. She said she got there about 2:30 a.m. and it was like at a nursing home. So they had a need for different you know, just whatever care providers. And she indicated that she went there, and at the end of the day, do you know what? She got an email. She said, hey, I'm here for the job fair. And they said, what job fair? What are you talking about? There's no job fair today. And she was like, no, it's a job fair today. You're hiring for concierge. That's what she was saying, you know, the front desk person. They was like, no. Make one search, they said, can you show me the email that you're referencing? She couldn't locate the email, but I promise you, the email was there at one point. But you know, at the end of the day, do you know, God would have it where the manager just so happened to be there. The HR manager was there. It was not you know, a job per se, job fair, but God orchestrated it where she wind up literally speaking to the HR manager. They talked about nothing but God, the whole 40-minute interview. And the lady started telling her how she needed prayer and how she was going through dialysis, how she was about to go out on work leave. And so her job was for the kingdom. Amen. So she went forward in the kingdom of God, and she actually wind up praying with this HR woman. And she said, you know, God sent you here just for me, and I'm going to make a job for you. And I have to have somebody like you on my team. I mean, come on, how awesome is that? So that's what I'm saying. We are peculiar people. They need you on their team because you are set aside, you're set apart. And even though it wasn't she could not find that email, by the way. She said she looked and looked because she didn't want to look crazy. She didn't want to look insane. So she looked for it and could not find it. It wasn't available. So I just want to say, bless God. And so God used her, and God delivered her and gave her her desires heart while doing a job for him. So that's the God we serve. He is completely there for us at a level that you wouldn't even think, you know, like just not even thinking that was God at all. Is that not a blessing or what? Ms. Harris, Mr. Jones, anybody? Like seriously, like wouldn't you know that God would set you up in such a way that he'll use you as a service in that position, but yet at the same time, he'll give you the desires of your heart. Have you ever been there? Have you ever seen that in your personal life?
Yes.
So that really blessed me this morning. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. You know, this is all about, again, Bible time. And I know many of you are at work on a lunch break, you know, in the middle of your day. So, as you know, this month's declaration is the month of great sacrifice. And as I'm contemplating, what does sacrifice really look like? What is sacrificial? Sacrifice isn't just money. There's so much more things that is much more sacrificial than just money. Really, when you think of sacrifice, I want you to today focus on something else. Let's focus in on how sacrificing is it to become vulnerable, to allow yourself to be emotional, to allow yourself forgiveness, and not only allow yourself, but really to forgive even you. Don't you know, we hold ourselves at such a captivity place that we don't forgive ourselves. So many people, love being around you. Many people want to be in your presence, but sometimes we don't want to be by ourselves. We can't even stand being in our presence alone. We don't like to be alone, because that's when God talks to us. That's when God really, hey, waiting to get you alone, waiting to have that conversation and dialogue for you. I've been really studying Ephesians 4. And I really want you to take the time in your own time. I'm not going to go really deep in Ephesians 4 today, but it's really all about forgiveness is the true key to wholeness. So not just forgiving others, but again, I'm really focusing on forgiving yourself and focusing on forgiving other people, because we are made in God's image, right? We're made to forgive, because if you don't take on the spirit of forgiveness, it will enter into bitterness. It will bring you into a place of emotion. Amen. It will bring you into a place of anger and rage and all these things that a lot of us don't like. I can only speak for myself, being vulnerable, but so that's where I want to go today. It's about sacrificing your emotions by forgiving. Forgiving is one of the most sacrificial things you can do, because I want to tell you guys, it's not sacrificial if it doesn't mean anything. But when that person that hurt you means something, guess what? It becomes a sacrifice to forgive. It becomes sacrifice because you look at the time and the energy and everything. It could be your job. It could be your career, whatever that thing is that you pour into. And, it could be something where you don't want to be vulnerable. You don't want to be totally naked or ashamed, bringing yourself into a place of humility or shame. Because guess what? Again, when you're alone, it requires you to examine your heart, to really bring yourself into a place of humility or bring yourself to a place of forgiveness. You have to first forgive you, because you ever be so angry that you're like, how didn't I see that? How didn't I know that was coming? Why did I ignore the signs? You start self-indulging and attacking your own self, beating yourself up more than anybody else could ever touch you. We have a place to do that very well ourselves. Or is it just me? I'm just going Bible study with myself today, but seriously, I want you to know that that's sacrificing. That's sacrificing when you decide to stop beating up yourself, when you decide to say, you know what, I'm not going to pretend, because I want you to know that you're an emotional person. Who told you that? Who lied to you and said that you don't have a heart and it can't be broken? Or who lied to you and said that it's a bad thing to be emotional? No, the Bible is clear. It says you could become angry, but sin not. It's not in ignoring these feelings and, hiding behind all of these layers and layers and layers of deceptions and hurts and pain. And because the enemy has an intended purpose to use them to kill, steal, and destroy everything. You'll get into a real destitute position if you don't face. I'm telling you, if you don't face it, you don't even see it. But right now, I'm telling you, I urge you today to dig with me today and examine your own heart. This isn't going to be a feel good, but you got to ask yourself, why is people leaving me? Why do they get frustrated with me? Why do I feel like abandoned? Do you have abandonment issues? Do you want to leave things? Or you stay? Because you can abandon something, but just because you didn't leave the marriage, but you can, when the heart gets hurt, there could be a cut at such a level that you might stay, but you detached yourself. When you detach yourself in your marriage, let me tell you, it's a very dangerous place because you become numb, a callous, a person, you are there out of a compassion, but there's no fire, there's a numbness, your heart is not beating together as one. That is not good. That is not a good place or even put yourself in a place of self-deprivation where you put yourself in a cage and you can't even show yourself mercy. You can't forgive yourself because of the things that maybe you did in your past or whatever, or the things you're doing right now. And you say like, Paul, why do I do the things I don't want to do? What is it? Well, I'm here to tell you, it's called flesh. That's where your emotions lie. It's not about abandoning those emotions. It's about how to learn, because you know what, how to deal with it so that you can forgive, so you can be authentic. But it requires you to first become real, to let your heart beat again, let the tears run again, let yourself be vulnerable again. You know what? You might say, I don't know about you. I know I'm only going to talk to myself today. I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to let people in, because when I do that, I get hurt some kind of way, or they use and abuse me. No, maybe you put the wrong people around you. Well, you have that because you ask now. But if you ask God to send you those people that are peculiar, that are his people, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm here to tell you, they'll hurt you too. Jesus was hurt, but every one of the disciples were hurt. It's not about being hurt, but they made it through. They made it through. Jesus not only made it through, he conquered hell, death, and the grave for you and I, so that he can have the human experience, but also so that we could see that, yes, you could be humiliated. Yes, you can even sin. Yes, you could do all these things, all this matter. But if you don't start focusing on what is causing the emotion, because I'm telling you, people, it says, my people perish due to a lack of knowledge. So what is it that you don't? What are you pretending not to know? What are you lacking in knowledge? What wisdom can you apply differently about application? Who told you? You got to get there. I've been at this place of going, okay, who originally lied to me? Who dropped me? Who abandoned me? Why do I have such abandonment issues? Why do I have a problem with the agape kind of love concept? I'm used to earning the love. God just loves us. He just gives it to us. I have such a hard time receiving that because society has taught me you work hard, you love hard, you give, you earn it. And God says, no. I give it. You can't run out of it. Give it. It's such a conundrum in my mind, and trying to get used to that when you've been dropped, when you've been lied to, when even originally your parents, left you. I want to ask you, who lied to you? Who told you didn't matter? Because I was told I didn't matter. I was told, I've dealt with so many things. I can give you all the reasons as to what formed me. What formed me, what fashioned me, what hurt me. But if I got really vulnerable, I'm just learning in the last couple of days that God has been revealing some things, that I've been dropped so many times in abandonment that I honestly didn't realize that emotion. That's why I had to go to my word. God gave us emotion, not to ignore them, but they're triggers. They're triggers as to locate myself. That's what the emotion that God gave them for you, so that you can locate yourself, so that you can be honest with yourself, so you could navigate through the waters of life. But if I'm burying things and I'm drowning myself in whatever lust, because it's driving me away from God, because I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with the fact of the matter is that I'm a rape victim. I've been abandoned by my mother, not because she abandoned me because she couldn't, but she died, abandoned by my father. And, I was just having a conversation with my husband this morning and saying, man, Why is it when I get really angry, I hurt people that are around me. And I thank God for my husband who has the capacity to see past that and say, okay, she's having her moment. she's having a moment, and sometimes he's able to do that, sometimes he's not. But to know today, I'm just discovering where that comes from. I was asking God, why do I have such a defense mechanism? Why do I do that? Why do I do that? And so if somebody lies to me, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna talk about me today. Triggers. You got triggers? You have it's like a gun inside of you. If you hit that trigger, it's gonna pull, I'm gonna shoot you. And I don't even know I'm shooting you. I don't even know my words is about to shoot you down. I got I don't even know, I got, whatever gun, just a rifle or whatever gun is just going, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna shoot you down. And I just realized, and my studies this morning, and then having a couple of disagreements, let's call that, with some other people earlier this week. And I'm like, why do I do that? I didn't even mean that at that level. And why do I have to assassinate with my words? And I realized that today that I deal with, so a trigger for me, 2 triggers. Death is a trigger. I realized that death is a trigger to make me feel abandoned, make me feel isolated, make me feel alone. So that's a trigger to emotions that I have buried. And another thing is when people lie. It's a very strong trigger for me. Or when lies are going forward, or deception, or a misrepresentation of any kind, it really triggers me at a very high level. And I'm just realizing today that where that comes from, I'm like, where does this come from? I need to locate this so that I can get healing, real healing from that place. When I was 5 years old, I was told, they told my mother that I was, they used to call that mentally retarded. Do you know that? Literally mentally retarded and put into a retardation classroom with real people that had, and there's nothing wrong with people that have mental disease, but I felt trapped. I was very shy and I didn't speak much. I knew my ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, but I couldn't speak. When they brought me on that stage to say them, and because I didn't say them, they just quickly diagnosed me and said that I had a mental disease. And I realized at that moment, and I had to stay in that class for a whole year. Nobody fought for me. My mother didn't fight for me. My father wasn't around to fight for me. My mother just believed the education system and said, well, if you say so, put her in the class. Knowing I knew my ABCs, 1, 2, 3. In fact, I already was reading, but she didn't fight for me. She didn't. So what did that do? That caused an injury in the very beginning of my life. So now I had to learn how to fight for me. I had to fight my way out of a bag. I had to learn how to say, I'm not stupid. So if anything comes up to make me feel like I'm stupid or that I'm uneducated, I'm coming, it's a trigger, I'm gonna shoot you. Or is that just me? Do you have triggers or do you not have triggers? No, none of you? I know for a fact,
I definitely have triggers.
Triggers,
Sure.
things that trigger you emotionally. But I'm just realizing today where my root is, the root cause of it. Because that is what we need to get to in order, because it causes, fear. What causes you to feel fear and to get to an emotional place or make you feel numb? Again, one of mine is when somebody dies, it makes me feel abandoned. It makes me, and then it's not even fair at some level because I can't even face them. I can't say, why'd you get sick? I have no voice, Again, I just, just saying that out loud, no voice. Not having a voice is really the truest trigger for me. When I feel like I have no voice, I become fearful. I start feeling rejected. I feel abandoned. I feel like I'm not good enough. I got to prove to you that I'm more than what you think I am. I'm not dumb. And again, I'm just trying to say that's why God is going to put people around your life when you ask for him, that they might too. You might have to look past some of those things that they have and they do in life, because they have triggers. But that's why we as brethren, as we forgive each other and we learn each other's soft spaces, we become safer around those individuals, because if nothing more, we have this foundation called the Bible. So when the devil start and I say, oh, that's a trigger, that's a place, let me back off of that and let me go in my prayer closet for my brother, because I see he's dealing with that trigger, that emotional thing, that mental enemy in his mind. Because the heart matters. Your heart matters. Somewhere along the line, I think everyone at one point or another has had their heart crushed in life. So it's about starting to allow your heart to beat again. It's being vulnerable. It's very, very risky. But again, Jesus risked it all for us to be not only to take it now a very practical approach to stuff, but to say, okay, if I have to forgive, but first I have to forgive myself, but I got it. God is going to reveal, he reveals to redeem. So, but how many of you don't want to face the reality of what is the root? You know, you have to become desperate in your healing. You have to become desperate in your awakening to say, wait, but God is here's the, I already told you a few weeks ago, the answer to everything is love. That is the answer. But it's the getting into the middle of the whys and the practicality approach. Is more than just, okay, I can lay my hands and pray on you and a miracle manifests. But how do we take the word of God and a daily application? First of all, knowing what your triggers are, what causes that anger, what causes the emotion, because how can you know the trigger so that you don't have to keep forgiving and asking others to forgive you, so that you can stop the behavior, so that you can ask for healing that area. So unless you start going to the root until you know what the triggers are, that God is able to put those people around you that have tougher skin and say, you could shoot me there, that doesn't bother me, I love you anyway. I love you anyway, Latoya. I love you anyway. Derek, I love you anyways. That's past that trigger, because you know that that's a good person. They're just having a moment. So let's go ahead into the word emotion. The word emotion is a Latin word, and it's E-M-O-V-E-R-E. And the meaning, it really in the etymology means to be disturbed. Believe it or not, it's to be moved, to be disturbed emotionally, literally, what's disturbing you? So that's how you locate. You got to locate at the core, not all the noise or the situation, but at the core, what is disturbing you? Emotions are real. God tells you that he made us in his image, right? In the image. So you can't separate your mind, body, and soul. You want to put things over here in a nice little box and say, I don't want to deal with this right now. I'm just going to deal with my spirituality. I want to be healed there. No, you can't just have healing there. You got to deal with your mind. You got to your spirit having a human experience, because to try to take emotion out of things causes you to literally live lifeless, believe it or not. You are meant to have emotion. It's what do we do with the emotion, and how do we sin not? How do we not let the sun set in these emotions, and it becomes, all kind of things like overeating and sex and drugs and lust, because it draws you away from God and it draws a man into this lust. And then you go around, and then good people start going around bad people, other people that they don't need to be around because they need to heal themselves. But we, in order to feel good sometimes, I'm going to just speak for that to feel good sometimes, I love helping other people feel good about themselves. Then that makes me feel good doing the work of the ministry. I don't have to focus on anything else. I don't have to focus on my marriage or career or anything else. I just have to focus on making others happy and joy because it brings me joy. But that's not the best for God. I mean, for my life, that's not God's best. All those things that happened to me in my childhood and in my life, that wasn't God's best for me. That's not what he ordained for my life, but it happened because, hey, but I know the word, it says if you give it to him, he'll turn your ashes into beauty. If you choose to allow him to literally heal your brokenness in your heart at an emotional level, so that we can literally trust and believe that Jesus is making intercessions right now, that you are in your emotions, but you're not going to live in your flesh. That's the difference. You can have emotion, but not be drawn away into the fleshly things and into the things that cause us to disregard everything, to cause us to disregard, abandon things, or again, this is all on attachment styles. Do you detach or do you attach? So I learned that we either stay in things too long, where we should have detached because it was a seasonal thing, or we don't stay long enough and we let go too soon. We abandon things and we move on when God is in the process of working something out for your brethren. So we got to forgive. You got to forgive. Forgive. What does forgiveness mean? Forgiveness means it's for yourself. You got to learn how to forgive yourself. You got to learn how to forgive others so that you don't go into a self-imposed embargo. What is an embargo? A cage. So you don't put yourself in a cage so your heart doesn't become numb. So you don't feel anything. You can't feel those that you're even hurting because you're numb. You're desensitized because you now say, I don't want any emotions. So when you don't want any emotions, guess what we do? You'll go get drunk, high, anything to release a different endorphin to your brain so that whatever makes you feel good. My drug is addicted to success. I'd rather go work. I'll go work myself and just so I don't have to deal. But I'm not doing that anymore. I'm a lot better than what I used to be so that I don't stop abandoning things. Maybe I don't leave the relationship, but I leave home other ways. And that's not okay. It's not okay to not recognize what's ailing me on the inside of me because I know that God has a place of restoration. You know, there's nothing wrong with therapy. I'm going to say it again. There's nothing wrong with therapy or getting help to deal with these coping mechanisms outside of, okay, let me just go get, you know, whatever I need to just cope because I don't want to feel, I want to be numb. No, stop ignoring your emotions because these things are triggers. Like I said, I learned today a very strong trigger for me is when somebody thinks I don't have intelligence or that I'm stupid. That's a problem. That's a major problem for me. I don't like being in those type of situations. If I'm placed in those type of situations, it doesn't come out well for the other person and I'm the type that I'm gonna hit you with the truth at such a level that I'm gonna buckle your knees with the truth. And I'm gonna say it in a very mean way. But that's not God. That's not what he has us to do. And you know how you say something and you be like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Lord, help me. You don't want to say it like that. It's not that it's not the truth. You don't want to hurt people with the truth, though. That's not being a good believer, helping your brother, praying for them. No, no matter what my situations, going through being, raped, all different types of my life, being kidnapped and all kind of craziness. And that one day I'm in the process of writing a book because they say, well, what made you? How? If it hadn't been for the glory of God, I promise you, if it hadn't been for God who has saved me over and over again from being that 5-year-old little girl to the 3-year-old little girl being left and abandoned, there's a little girl that was screaming to say, I am matter, I'm here. But I hid her along and I said, go sit down, hide yourself in here. I don't want to deal with you right now. I just want to be the adult. No one else was being an adult. So, hey, This little girl had to go sit down somewhere and an adult had to raise up really quick or I was going to become slaughtered, period, end point, the end. But God, when I tell you what God has been there every step of the way, healing me every step of the way, bring me another ram, a ram and another ram. But I want you to know that emotional healing is available for every person that needs it. And all of us, in my opinion, needs it one way or another. We all have been wounded somewhere in life. Maybe your story doesn't look like mine, but there is a wound that is festering that needs your attention, that needs to stop being ignored, and it needs to be repaired. But that requires you to want to go seek it out, right? Take a little bit of common sense. You know, it's not so common for people to have common sense these days, but to stop dealing with the fact that you have detachment issues. Let me show you if you have detachment issue. What does that look like? Sleeplessness, anger, depression. It says isolation, bitterness, frustration, and fear. And the most causes of abandonment or not being able to forgive people is the lack of trust, right? Trust. If you couldn't trust your mama and you couldn't trust your daddy and they dropped you as an infant, they dropped you on your head, you're going to have some trust issues growing up. Yeah, you're going to have, so just like you have some issues, that's why I pray that we can forgive others really quickly because they're too going through something. They too have issues. And if we don't become a community of believers and we don't start believing in each other again, we're gonna miss out on the greatest part of life, which is love, which is agape love, which is the truth. To interlink into somebody that says, you know what? You're messed up, I'm messed up, but you know what? This thing, this word of God is, we could get in it together. He'll hear our illness and he will bring us to a place to forgive. Because I want to let you know that forgiveness, God forgave you. He forgave you, even yet you were a sinner. That's what the word of God says. So because I need us to understand, why do we need to forgive? Because it makes us sick. Literally, when we don't want to deal with emotion, it makes us sick. It causes heart attacks. It causes cancer to build up in the body, and your pancreas don't work, and cause diabetes, and causes you to become drug addicts, all kind of things. That is not God's best for our lives. You know what? I wish I could say, there's a quick way to the path of emotional well-being. The bottom line is no quick fix. It is no quick fix. But if you stick it out and you get and start asking God to reveal your heart. So where's my triggers? What causes me to be this way? What's ailing me? What is causing detachment? What is causing me to become too attached so quickly? Because there's a reverse end of it. You know, some people don't like to be alone, so they attach to things so quickly, harming, putting ourselves in situations that people who need us, yes, but we're becoming Superman to a kryptonite. Come on. No, that's not God's best for your life. There's no quick fix. So I want you to, let's look at a couple of scriptures, Matthew 26 and 41. It says, the spirit is willing, Matthew 26 and 41. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, right? So that tells you where we're battling. Just like, you know, like I said, Paul often said, you know, why am I dealing with this? Or why am I doing the things that I don't want to do? I know it's wrong. I don't want to do them, but I'm doing them. Again, the spirit is willing, but the battle is in the flesh, is not in the things that you're trying to stop doing. But so if you don't stop dealing with a natural thing or spiritual thing in a natural perspective, when you need to deal with it in the spirit and then apply application to your stubbornness, to resistance, you got to speak those things that are not, so that God can remain true. God shall remain true. His word instructs us. He said, I'll teach you in the way you should go, so that you will have me as your guide, right? Psalms 32 and 8. So following God to emotional well-being is the first thing we have to do. We have to first allow God, get vulnerable. Adam, Eve, get back to Genesis 1 kind of style. Go before him naked, because it was okay to be naked before the world back then. It was okay. They didn't put fig leaves and trees all around them just because, you know, what becomes normalized, we've normalized behavior doesn't mean it's okay. No, who's lying? Who lied to you? Who told you it's okay to lie? Who's okay to put a mask on? No, it's not okay. Go back to the way it's supposed to be. Jesus has completely reconciled it for you. He is the one that has restored our souls. Psalms 23:3 says he is the one who restores our souls. So God is the answer. Jesus came in that part to heal the brokenness. He came to give you life. He is life. He's a vehicle of life. So again, so when you are not